Hello and good morning. I am Karla Davis Luster and welcome to the Us Review. Today is Season 2, Episode 2, Toxic Relationships. When is it time to walk away? Once again, I'm your host, Karla Davis Luster. Here is where I discuss controversial relationship topics given the male and the female perspective when necessary. I'd like to recap the previous week's topic, which was a very serious one last week. Last week, I talked about a very serious topic. It was entitled Domestic Violence in Relationships. I talked about the characteristics of the perpetrator, and I also talked about the characteristics of the victim. I also gave some statistics and a brief synopsis on why I felt it actually happened. So, if you would like to view last week's episode, you can view it on my YouTube page at Ask Karla. Basically, if you go to Ask Karla on any of the platforms, you can probably find me. Once again, if you'd like to view last week's session on domestic violence, you can go to my YouTube page, and all of my season's episodes are housed there. Once again, if you are just tuning in, this is the Us Review, Season 2, Episode 2, Toxic Relationships. When is it time to walk away? Or let me ask you this question. Should you walk away from a toxic relationship? Let me answer that question from my personal perspective. My answer is absolutely. Yes, it is okay to walk away from a toxic relationship. Definitely, if there is no full commitment like marriage. Marriage is a little bit more significant and harder to really just walk away from. There are a lot of steps and things that you have to do. However, if you are married and you have given it a chance, you have sought professional assistance and truly have given your all, yes, you should leave without question. Definitely, if it is a domestic situation that I spoke on last week that I just mentioned that you can go back and watch. It might be time to hang your hat. Keep in mind, if you are unhappy and dissatisfied in your relationship, it is not a bad thing to find you're happy. Your relationship with yourself, self-care, and self-love is undoubtedly the most important because it's your life. Let me say this to the married people. No offense to partners, couples that have been together dating a million years and are comfortable and everyone agrees. Whatever your program you have and that you have worked out, I said married people because you actually took the plunge. Relationships thrive when you honor your commitments, keep your promises, spend quality time with each other, and share responsibilities. Not to say that you have to have a piece of paper to do that, because there are so many couples that are so beautiful, doing beautiful things that are together that have not actually, got the piece of paper. However, they are committed and they are living a life of love. So, my hat and kudos to you guys. Right now, I'm talking to, if you're more in a committed relationship and it is not working, it's toxic. And when I say toxic, meaning that it's not good for you, health-wise or any otherwise. However, when you have put in all the work that you possibly can, but your partner does not reciprocate, they're not trying to help you out in this situation, because it takes two. It might be time to call it quits and move on to find your happy. But make sure, and I do repeat this, I need you to make sure that you truly have done all of the work, because you never want to look back and regret leaving. Okay, you want to make sure that you have done everything, and that you have did a self-assessment that the problem isn't you. So you want to always look at both sides of the coin. Once again, if you're just tuning in, good morning. This is the Us Review, Season 2, Episode 2. It is entitled Toxic Relationships. When is it necessary, or when should you walk away from a toxic relationship? Today, I'm going to share some signs that it might be time to actually walk away. But before I go into the signs, I'm going to share my preface, which comes from my novel. Those of you who tuned in last season, I always take something from my novels. This one is I'm Not a Homewrecker, Opportunist Maybe. I'm going to take it from Chapter 2, entitled Fam, Paragraph 1, page 9. But before I do that, I want to show it to you. Absolutely. And do a little bit of talking about my novels here. This is my novel, I Am Not a Homewrecker, Opportunist Maybe. This is where the preface is going to come from this morning. However, if you tuned in last season, all of my prefaces pretty much came from my first novel. This is a novel series that I'm doing. These are the first two novels. This is the Woman Tells. So if you want to catch up and you want to know, from the beginning of the story, you would start with the Woman Tells, and then you'd move into this. This is season 1. I'm talking about this one, season 2. You can find both of them on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, AskCarlaDL.com, and they're both located at the 900 Bloomingdale building on Michigan Avenue in Chicago on the 5th floor at the Volumes bookstore. However, I have something else to talk to you about this morning before I do my preface. I know you guys have been seeing this. I've dropped this recently. This is the Relationship Color Palette Assessment Guide. I actually did an article in the Waymaker Journal, which is the owner and the founder is Louis Carr for BT, the president of BT, sales and media. I did an article in there and I talked about relationships and I compared them to colors. So it went so well and so many people said this is, really a good idea. I took it to a guide. Basically, it's an assessment guide. It's about 43 pages. The way you start it, you scan the code, you go in and you take this assessment test. It's about 25 questions, which we will be loading more questions, so it's going to get a little bit longer. Needless to say, it compares colors to your personality or whatever. You go in, you take the test, you get your color, and then you go and you read this analysis about your personality due to whatever color that you are, and then you can see if your partner or your friend, you can do it with friends, partners, you can have it at a game party. It's very fun. It strikes up a great conversation about relationships, and you get it going. You see all these podcasts and you got all these people around the table talking. This can really get the conversation started. Needless to say, you do that, you can just see if your partner is orange and you're red. There is a rating for a person that has the orange personality or the red personality. You get the percentage of how compatible you are. All of that is housed in here. I have note pages, and when you read about your personality, the pages are color coded. It also has a place where you can do action plans in here, and I have it laid out for the year. I didn't put the year like 2023, whatever, so that you can keep this book forever. I just have the months laid out, January through December, where you can make action plans if you and your partner, your husband, or whatever, take this and you find that you're laying out the pros and the cons of your relationship, and you want to make action plans on how you're going to improve it. All of that is in here. And the last thing that is really, really great that I have in here is that I have a page where you can schedule your date nights so that you guys can, continue to work on your relationship. So that is the Relationship Color Palette Assessment Guide. You can get this at Amazon, and you can get it on my page at AskCarlaDL.com. It will eventually be at BarnesandNoble.com and soon to be at the Volumes bookstore as well. And I want to say, it's under $10. It's $8.99, and it's definitely a great game tool, whatever that you can use. So once again, the Relationship Color Palette Assessment Guide. And if you want to get it for free, I did run an ad, and I will continue to run it, that you can get this for free if you subscribe to me on YouTube. All you have to do is DM me to where we send this to you for free if you subscribe. Okay, once again, the Relationship Color Palette is available for you. But back to my preface for today is coming from I'm Not a Homewrecker, Opportunist Maybe. It's going to come from chapter 2, page 9, paragraph 1. And it goes something like this. I woke up early to banging pots and lots of noise. Today was the day my sister was making her way to a semi-new lifestyle. She had been packing and getting ready for the last year. Talking about ready to move on. If that wasn't a sign, then the sky isn't blue. I, for one, could not blame her for wanting more. We lived check to check with what my mother made. My dad, he contributed when he felt like it. Toxic. Depending on when we saw him, my sister was super smart and had been awarded a full academic scholarship. I was incredibly happy for her, but sad to see her go. I knew moving forward, my mom would be expecting me to help with the twins. Not that I mind, but I still enjoyed hanging with my friends. We slowed down a bit after my friend's ordeal with those girls. You have to read the book to know what's going on. We too were starting a new endeavor into high school. I was nervous. New place, new people. Starting over, trying to be accepted. I did not know what to expect. Would I be as popular in high school as I in junior high? Or would I be the low girl on the totem pole in the looks category? This was one of the most popular schools in our city, known for pretty girls, athletic programs, and academics. Exceedingly rare for a school to be known for the 3 out of 3 in the most important categories across the board. And not a homework or opportunist, maybe, guys. So you got to get it. However, if you are just tuning in, today this is season 2, episode 2, toxic relationships. When is it time to walk away? Well, let's talk about some signs that the relationship has gone astray, and once again, we are talking about toxic relationships, and I want to just say that this is not a show, or this episode is not to promote you leaving your relationship. We're talking about if it's toxic, and it has gotten to the point, once again, that I say that it is unhealthy for you. It is, abusive for you. It is, not good, and the situation is not getting any better. It is really, really volatile. Then these are the things, and these are the signs, and some of the things that I'm going to discuss that you need to kind of reevaluate or reassess what is really going on and what is the best course of action that you need to take as a person if you are in a toxic relationship. And it doesn't have to be that you're married. It doesn't have to be that, it's just boyfriend, girlfriend. Toxic relationships can be a friendship. It can be, like people just around you that's not, wishing you well, and not, giving you good vibes, and not, being there for you and stuff like that. So once again, I do talk about relationships and couples and stuff a lot. However, some of the stuff can be applied to friendships. It can be applied to just associates, just, business, sessions or whatever. If it's toxic, if it's a toxic relationship, you want to move on, So number one that I'm going to talk about, and this my number one pet peeve, is, you start to see that there is no respect. Once again, one of my pet peeves, there's no respect. That, it's like they're discounting you, they doing anything, treating you any kind of way. It's always volatile or whatever. Just the respect level is gone. Then that's one of the signs. Number 2, no trust. This is one that there are a lot of times, and I know that I've always, I have been one to not trust people right away. I feel like you have to, as far as I am concerned, that you have to earn trust. Because I've found so early on, I found that I was very, just kind of like thinking that I want to think the good in everybody. I want to think that everyone is pure and honest, but that is not the case, unfortunately, in society. And so I guess over the course of time of being burned, a few times or whatever, and just seeing how you think people are one way and they're trustworthy and they turn out to be another, I almost feel like people have to either earn it, or over a course of time, I have to see that you are a straight shooter. So no trust. And then in relationships, if there's no trust, then, you're questioning everything that your partner's doing. You're like, everything is a suspect type of a situation. That's not good. Not good at all. Number 3, they don't value you, meaning that anything you say, anything that you try to contribute, they just discount it. It's like, what you say don't, you have no value in this. You add nothing. You bring nothing to the table. And let me say this, because people tend to think that bringing stuff to the table is always money, is always this. If you're bringing love, you're bringing, you're holding the person down, you're supporting them, and you're doing the best you can. And it could be, a housewife, a house dad. I've talked about that before. You are contributing, and that you are adding value. There's children involved. Someone is, you're doing everything that it needs to be done to take care of the children. So don't just get hung up on if they don't. Now, let me say this. You do need money to live. You do need, if a person is just, not contributing anything and stuff like that, then that could be an issue if, it's not worked out to be, that's how you guys worked it out. Needless to say, value does not equate to always money. People add value in various ways. So you need to figure out what that is for you. There is, number 4, there is abuse involved. I talked about that last week, such as abuse can come in many forms. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical. Physical happens to be one. So let me name off some, such as physical, mental, psychological, emotional. Abuse can even be financially, So I invite you once again to go back and look at my last week's show. I talked in depth on those various things and went into some situations. But once again, the relationship have become abusive, and your relationship and you are in it. So you can, once again, I said, you have to assess it for yourself and see where you are, and is this, over the line. Now, in a relationship, you are going to disagree. You are going to, I say disagree, I don't like to say argue, but, call it what you want to. That's going to happen. Don't the first, argument, oh, I watched her show and she said it's toxic. That's not what I'm saying. It is things that have become extreme. You have, did all you can do, and it is not getting any better, and you don't see it getting any better. You might want to do an assessment. Number 8, another one is, once again, like I said, I discussed the domestic stuff last week. Go back to my YouTube page at Ask Karla and review it and go from there. Now, another one, they do not respect your personal space. Here's where I'm going to tell you a story. And actually, it was a movie that was made. I forget the name of it. Breaking Up. I think it's Breaking Up. And it's one of the guys actors that's out of Chicago that's in it with... she used to date Brad Pitt. Anyway, so you probably know what I'm talking about, Breaking Up. And I promise you, when that happened, I'm like, did they talk to them and make a movie? There was a friend, I'm not going to name him off. Obviously, it was some years ago. They moved in with their boyfriend. They had, they started off with this love festival, and everything was wonderful. The sky was blue, and, the sun was shining, and things broke bad. They break bad, right? Needless to say, they had moved in together. Their names were both on the lease, and they were splitting everything 50-50. However, I'll make a long story short so we can move on. It was a 1-bedroom that I remember. I do remember this distinctly because of what I'm about to say. It was a 1-bedroom. They had agreed that she could sleep in the bedroom. I guess, he was being a gentleman. Thank God. And he took the couch. However, the couch was his bedroom, and she had the bedroom. Needless to say, she came home too, and I'm not even sure if it's like she came home when she normally is not there. I don't know that situation. I just know when she walked in, la la, Merry Christmas. Yeah. The respect piece, and what I'm getting at, that they don't respect your personal space. In that situation, you know, it's obvious that they're just trying to live out the lease. Why? The question goes to my mind, how come you couldn't go to her space or go to an hotel, somewhere else? Because although you're not together, there is a matter of respect that I go back to. That's my pet peeve. A matter of, I guess you don't have to, well, somewhat you have to trust each other because you're living in the same household. But, you know, until you do stuff, there is a decent way to do everything. Decent, you know, I've always been told do stuff decent and in order. You know, it doesn't have to be someone that you want to spend a whole lot of time with, but the bridges that you burn, make sure you want to burn them, because you never know when you got to go back and cross back over it. And I'm saying is that, you know, that was just so disrespectful. I'm going to move on. I got stuck on this one when I had this story, but, you know, not respecting personal space. And I want to say that your situation may not be that extreme, but it could be extreme in another way. Just take a look at it. The next thing, and you know, they have cheated and you are unable to move past it. You know, the Bible said, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Also, people get it misconstrued that they think that they tend to put certain sins to be larger than others. In God's eyes, one sin ain't no bigger than the other. Sin is sin, you know. However, if this situation has happened, you know, infidelity has happened, and you can't move past it, and every other sentence, every other conversation, and every other disagreement is going to be bringing that up, and it's going to be for the rest of your lives, maybe you can't move past it. Maybe you need to reconsider, staying and just move on, because I'm pretty sure both of you are going to be able to move on and hopefully find happiness. But if you're able to put it, try to put it away, try to move on, because I got to think in some instances, I'd like to hear both sides of the story of what happened. Neither side I'm saying that is, is the, is okay, but it's always two sides to a story, and really the third one is probably the right one. Let me keep moving. No communication, not talking to each other, just walking around, and there's just nothing there. No communication, no good morning, no hi, no whatever. You've moved to the place where you can't stand a person. I had this situation before, and it's like you have nothing to say. It's like no communication, and you get to the point where what. If I never saw you again in life, it's great. That's a problem. There are, they become selfish, when it breaks bad and you guys are in a situation, and I keep going back to the situation with the people living in the apartment together, and they're just living out their lease. I could see that situation being very selfish. You come in with food and, you offer the person any and not worried about them. Typically you used to call, what do you want to eat? I'm just using these like little small scenarios that, and it's like, you could give a flying duck a bear, what happens to them? You might want to reassess it. I got to say that, it is a situation where, when it breaks bad, it becomes, a situation where no one is respecting each other, then it's time to move on. The other thing that I'm going to bring up, you may have went out and you found that you want to be with someone else, and it's, hopefully it's not in a married situation, but you've like moved on and you've met someone and it's you don't want to be with the other person, then that is, it can probably become very toxic. The next thing is that you have a situation where, like I talked about the finances, you have a situation where you guys have, you feel like you've been lied to. Here's one. You've been lied to that the person that you met, you find that they are not all of the things that they said that they were. They lied to you. That is, I gotta say, when you are an employer, that is grounds for immediate dismissal. However, we're not talking about, a work thing. We're talking about a personal thing. However, if they're not the person that you met and the person that you actually fell in love with, then, that is definitely can be a toxic situation. Here's another one, is that your values and your goals and your situation does not line up. It's not aligned. That you find that maybe when you guys first got together that you talked about it and you did want the same things, but now, a person can definitely change their mind. Here's one that I've seen with several couples. I've seen one at the church. I've seen, the church I go to. I've seen one just friends, is that with the value piece, you want kids and they won't want kids. That can become a very big issue, because you don't want to be forcing anyone to do something that they don't want to do, because that could be, the parenting can go sideways. Just the whole scenario could be just a sideways situation that, is not cool. It's not cool. The other thing that I want to say is that, merely is that you outgrow your partner. That happens too. That happens, that you are doing things or whatever else, and this person just seems to be stagnant. They are not trying to do anything. And this goes back to the values and the goals or whatever, and you have just grown apart. Everything is an argument. You guys cannot seem to get on the same page, and it becomes toxic. And in some cases, it can turn abusive. You're getting into all these arguments. It can become physically abusive. It can become mentally abusive. I've seen some situations where someone just, stopped. The female was not working. She was just, I guess being taken care of. That's why I always tell, like I've told my daughter, and when I'm in like various conversations, like talking about different situations, that you always want to be able to be self-reliant, that you can be, and don't be independent to the point where your partner doesn't feel that you need them and you're making them feel, unwanted or whatever. I'm not saying that, but in this case, the person became very financially abusive, and she was kind of like in a bad way and had to kind of find her way, because he kind of just, was abusing her, when, sometimes wouldn't even buy her food, whatever. And that, I'm giving the extreme situations because I really want you to think about it. Needless to say, any and all of these things, at the end of the day, you need to assess your relationship and see where it is, and see if it fits you, and see if it's healthy, and see if it's positive, and is it moving forward in a positive way. And that, once again, in everything that you do, you should acknowledge God and keep God within it. That's what I'm going to say to that. Last but not least, you discovered that your relationship has become toxic. Well, once again, those are some of the signs. There are probably a million more signs that I could go into, which I won't do today. I gotta say this. The male research piece that I looked at said 6 out of 10 people will actually stay in an unhealthy relationship due to the fact that they do not want to be alone. That's insane. Just to the fact that you don't want to be alone. And here's one ridiculous comment that I've heard over the years that I'm like, oh, it is so ridiculous, and I hate to hear. I hear it from a lot of women. I don't think I've ever heard it from a man, but I'm not to say that a man can't say it, but I've heard this saying, and I've heard it from some family members too, and I'm like, what? It's like, a half a man is better than not having a man at all. That is the most ridiculous thing that you could ever say. And let me say this. If you, or want to feel, not valued, if you want to be a doormat, if you want to just accept anything and you have no standards, then that quote might fit you. However, I'm hoping and praying that, and this is male or female, that is not your expectation. Pretty much you don't have any, if that's what you're willing to accept. But if it works for you, it works for you. But I have heard that. Once again, breaking up and moving on, in a situation, definitely if you have time and you've been with this person a long, long time and you guys have things together, you're committed, children or whatever else, and just unfortunately it has broken to be bad, that it has become toxic. Breaking up is very hard. It's very painful. It's very, unraveling or whatever. There are ways that you guys can possibly move past it and get through the storm. That is definitely a storm, but you both have to be on the same page. You both have to be willing to do the work and put the work in, and make sure that you're putting that relationship first, that you're putting that relationship at a high priority, and that you care about it and you're doing things to actually make it work. Once again, I go back to, starting with, you can assess it, and start the conversation, and make action plans to do things to make it better. You can, schedule out your date nights. Once again, here's a tool that you can get, the relationship color palette assessment guide. You can do that. However, it is, once again, if it has become toxic and it has become a thing that is not working for you, that's what we're talking about today. If you have just tuned in, I've been talking about toxic relationships. Today, this is the Us Review. Today is Season 2, Episode 2, Toxic Relationships. When is it time to walk away? And I am talking about some of the severe things that when you're considering walking away, that is, because the relationship is not healthy, the relationship is not, being positive for you, then that's when you want to consider. And this is when you want to start maybe your exit plan. Once again, that is today's show. I am your host, Karla Davis Luster, and I hope today I have gotten you to think about some things, gotten you to, just like assess some things for yourself. It's not necessarily telling you to leave your relationship, but if it's toxic, you do need to sit down and take some time to think about it and see what is the best course of action, be it maybe going to counseling and trying to get some help to save the relationship, or maybe once again it's time to cut ties and say, hey, you know, this is too toxic for me. I need to move on so I can grow. I can, you know, just be in God's will, or I can do something that's positive, because this is not getting any better. I do once again invite you to go back and watch last week's season 2, episode 1, domestic violence in relationship. Once again, I'm Karla Davis Luster. This is the Us Review. You can find me on any of the platforms. At my my leg is Ask Karla, and you can find any of my novels at Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, at the 900 Bloomingdale building on Michigan Avenue in Chicago, and my website at AskCarlaDL.com. I invite you to tune in every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. I'm back here with the Us Review, talking about controversial relationship topics is what I usually do. Next week will be season 2, episode 3. And I'd just like to make an announcement for those of you who are tuned into the Us Review. I also do another podcast, which is called The Information Exchange. The Information Exchange is more so, we talk about careers, we talk about just entrepreneurship and things of the sort, more business type things. And this week, this Thursday, June 15th at 7 p.m., I have some amazing guests that's going to be on, and I am liking to invite you on. I have Kareem Pinder. He is the director of family and engagement for CPS, a director. I also have Marcus Luster. He owns the R&M construction and design and construction. He actually was, I am so proud of him. Him and his father and mother, they own this company, and they do build outs. And they actually built, for those of you who are in Chicago, and those of you who may visit Chicago, it's a very cool restaurant, Kitchen and Cocktails. They did the design in there, and it is absolutely fabulous. So he will be on Thursday. And last but not least, the man himself, Pastor Father Flager, Michael Flager, will be on, and he's going to be sharing his heart and just talking about his story. I love to do these interviews, man. It's like, because you get so much information out of them, so many nuggets that people can share. So once again, tune in on Tuesday mornings for the Us Review at 9 a.m. And then once again, I have the Information Exchange, which the Information Exchange is aired every other month on a Thursday. Thank you for tuning in. I am Karla Davis Luster, your host of the Us Review. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.